We're going to introduce you to a new segment, and I just can't wait. It's called Miracles on Main Street. And our first miracle is Josh from Brooks Healing Center. Hi, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm excited to share miracles because miracles didn't stop back in the old biblical times. I mean, miracles happen every day. Would you be kind enough to share a little bit of your story?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Josh and I'm with Brooks Healing. And if you had told me back on March 15th, 2015, when I got clean, that I would be doing what I do and being on situations like this, I would have probably laughed. But I'm just a normal guy, born and raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm the oldest of four children. We were pretty poor, but we did go to a prestigious elementary school down there because my mother played piano for the chorus and she cleaned the school. And so we were able to go on scholarship. And so one of the things that I like to point on is sometimes we look at stories and we don't realize where certain people started feeling certain ways. And I can remember feeling less than at a really early age because at this prestigious school were children of prestigious people, and they had the clothes and the shoes and they drove up in the nice cars. And so as I looked around, I just kind of felt less than in that environment. I'm grateful to it because I did get a really good education, but I started feeling less than at a young age. And to make it kind of quick, I never used in high school. Never had a cigarette, never drank a beer, never did anything. I actually made a pact with one of my best friends not to do that in high school, and we succeeded. But a week after I graduated, I said, well, all these types of folks, the footballers, the cheerleaders, the nerds, the musicians, all these different types of people are doing this, and they seem to be having fun. And so why not give it a whirl? I realized pretty quickly I'm a violent drunk. And at that time, I was 155 pounds, so not exactly street fighter stature. And so it didn't end well sometimes. And then I saw the folks that smoked marijuana, and I said, well, these folks just kind of listen to Bob Marley and sit in a circle, and it seems way more peaceful on that side of the fence. And so, I tried that. And the third or fourth time that I did that, I said, I do like this. I just don't like paying for it. And so by the time I was 21 years old, I was actually trafficking that on FedEx cargo jets from Phoenix, Arizona into Atlanta and Chattanooga. And I was no longer the poor kid. And so I figured out real quickly that subconsciously I strategically placed people into my life based on what they could do for me. So friends were not something that I really understood because there had to be a benefit in order to be in my life. And I didn't even know this was going on while it was going on. It was something my subconscious was doing. I remember the day I got a call, and they talk about the fact that the disease of addiction will change us without our permission. And I remember the day that I got the call that my uncle had died, had overdosed and died. And my brain didn't think, poor Uncle Keith. My brain thought, where did he get those drugs? Because those must be the good ones. And so I went through that full gambit and the full spectrum of how things change and how we process things. And I was 27 when I went into treatment the first time, and I had an oral surgery about 2 years before that. And I remember when they gave me the pain medicine for the oral surgery, I thought to myself, I want to feel like this forever. And that's what I set out to do. And so, I ended up in there for the first time. And I remember, and I was in there, for eating pain medicine, eating pain pills. And I remember they were down in Chattanooga, and they're, in the circle, and they're checking people in, and there's people that they're snorting this stuff. And I was like, you know what, I feel bad for those folks. And I'm so glad I'm not like them, and they always said, it doesn't matter what got you here. It doesn't matter the method, we all need the recovery piece, but I liked to compare myself. And I'm 6'2", and when I ended up in treatment, I was 137 pounds. And this time I was looking around that circle because I was shooting heroin and smoking crack around the clock. That was my life. And I just looked around and I thought, well, there's nobody I can compare myself to this time. And I remember the very first time I got introduced to the recovery process, they talked about the disease of addiction being progressive, being fatal. And I managed to understand that because I was doing more damage in a less amount of time every time that I would start using again. And so one of the things that holds people back and held me back was the stigma. I would report to hospitals, and I would have these marks all up and down my arms, literally from my shoulder down, and I would tell them that I got bit by brown recluses because I was ashamed to say I have a problem with injecting drugs. There was such a stigma. I was taught we get misinformed by uninformed people. And so I truly believe I'm a miracle, and I believe there are so many miracles that come out of this. The reality is also that we never know when we have an opportunity to impact someone's lives, because people often think that you've got to work in treatment to impact someone's lives. And I'm not going to give names, but I will tell you that there's a mechanic that's been around in Murfreesboro for a long time. And one of the best examples of recovery I've ever seen was when I took my vehicle to XYZ place, and I finally landed on Z, and he came and told me exactly what was going on, which was a fraction of what everyone else said. And then based on our language and speaking to each other, he realized this guy's in recovery, and I realized he's in recovery. But he did the right thing for the right reason before he ever knew that.
What's really beautiful, Josh, is that you've taken something that could have been a bad story. But I always say that when we turn over our will to something greater than we are, it can be used to save lives, and it can be used, and you're believable in a way that someone who's never walked that journey, they won't have the same impact. I'm just going to tell you right now, if someone tells you, but you don't have to do, if they've never understood the disease of addiction, it's very difficult to look into someone's heart and say, I know what will help. You do,
It is. I used to teach a group of guys. A lot of them had come out of state facilities, prisons, and jails. And I would ask them, what is all your expertise? And, they would raise their hands and say different things. And I would write things on the board, and I would say, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that those of you that are in front of me, like myself, when we get to this point, the only thing that we're an expert in is army crawling on the ground into our parents' bedrooms and trying to find a wallet or a purse in the dark. We can do it like a ninja. And that's awful to say, but it's the harsh reality. And every head in there was doing like this. And when you're talking to grown men, you see how impactful and what the disease of addiction can really do, because most people can't. But I can certainly remember when I got it back, and it was in a men's recovery home. And I was actually watching a comedy show at 2 a.m, and it woke the other men up, and they were upset. But I was laughing like a 7th grade girl and having an absolute ball, because I was like, I'm laughing, I'm smiling again. That's something that we take for granted, is something as simple as a smile. Wow. It's also given me back peace, and oftentimes folks in early recovery mistake this for boredom. What it actually is, it's called peace. We're just so used to chaos and drama that becomes the norm. So when we have this peace in our life, it's like, wow, what am I supposed to do with this? Our lead therapist has been in the business for 35 years, our clinical director for 20, and our executive director for 30 as well. And so nothing against recent college grads or anything like that at all, but the combined experience with the folks that are involved here is not anything that we find at too many places. And the fact that they've done it that long and that they're still excited to keep moving forward says enough about it itself.